Hi guys, I hope you all are well. We are, and it's finally starting to cool off a little bit. Last week we were still reaching 30s, even though apparently we are now in winter, but starting to feel a little bit more like it. So I've been having quite a number of different questions, so I figured if there's some people having these questions, there's probably more that are just not asking them, or it just might be additional information that may be helpful to you either now or in the future. So we're going to go over some questions. I'm going to answer them and hopefully it helps you. So the first question I have here is, why did we choose the specific area that we live in? Why did we choose the region? And we are in the Kaguasu district, just to clarify, and in the Campanoive area. And initially we were not going to move here. When we arrived in Paraguay, we had our mindset on Ho'ono. But for the first while we were waiting for our container to get here, we had decided to stay in this area and catch up with family and stuff. And there were some friends that live in the colony that we had met in Canada. And so just wait around the area until our container got here and then go down south. But we immediately felt home here. And we immediately knew we wanted to send our kids to school in the same school where they are in now. And it just felt like the right decision to stay around in the area, and it'd be a lot easier to make the adjustments that would be needed. Also, with starting import-export business, this area was going to be closer to the ports, so that was going to be very helpful. And also economically, for just the work that we wanted to do, we saw this being a benefit, centralized location for a business like ours. The next question is, are there English-speaking people in our area? At first, I didn't really think so. I found that, to me, it looked like it was going to be really difficult to find more English-speaking people or that one might interact with in the day-to-day. But I have been surprised how many English people there are actually in this area. There's more and more Europeans that are choosing to settle in this area, and a lot of them know at least some English. They prefer not to speak English, but they do know it. And then there are this specific neighborhood that we are in, about half of the families, they speak English. About half of them are like us that have moved back here from Canada. And then some other ones that have just simply always liked the English language, and they have learned it that way through videos, movies, and things like that. And then there is a Amish colony just to the east of here. I'm not sure how big the colony is. It is very small compared to, say, the Mennonite colonies that are on either side of us. But in the Amish colony, there is about 30 to 40% of them that are pretty fluent in English. So that surprised me. And then there's a school here, also a private school called Gutenberg, and they do have more English students than you would find in any public run school here. And then even in the colonies, when you get to the higher grades in their schools, they do teach some English, although this is barely a little bit, like it's bare minimum basics. But then there are some students who really enjoy the language and they take it further and they watch a lot of movies again and learn a lot of English that way. We've been surprised how when they are very dedicated that they do speak pretty fluent English. Like we weren't able to tell with these two teenagers last year that they actually had never lived anywhere but here, and they still were fluent in English, probably just about as well as we are. And there are more even adults that have moved to Canada for a couple of years, picked up some English there, and then come back here. So those are some of the ways that there are some more English-speaking folks around here. Question number 3 that I have gotten, and a lot of people are very pleasantly surprised with, I'm going to again kind of tie 2 questions into one. A lot of people are pleasantly surprised with one of them. The first is, do you know of a good lawyer to hire for purchasing a property or anything like that? Or do people not do that around here? I personally do not know one good lawyer to do anything like that. That is not something that people generally do around here. Whenever we were asking for more information around here from people that we know here, they were surprised that we would ask something like that because they're not used to hiring lawyers to make purchases like houses or properties. Here, the way it is done, you hire a notary to take care of all of the documents for the property, and then they take care of everything. If there's anything, any sort of dispute that needs to be handled that is on the legal side of things, then the notary office has their own lawyer that knows the whole notary's business and that will sift through the entire purchase deal or whatever, and they will take care of any legal action that needs to be taken or any questions that one might have, and so forth. The second one is property taxes. Is there such a thing, or is there fees for owning your property, anything like that, or your house? And the answer is yes, but it is very, very little. And it is on the lot, not on the home, even if there's a home on it. The home has nothing to do with this. It is just based on the land that a home might be on, or even just a bare property. And the fee for this very commonly is 30,000 guaraníes, or about $5 US roughly a year. And other than that, there are no fees. So yeah, that is very nice, especially coming from a place like Canada where it's absolutely ridiculous and they will find any reason to up the taxes. Next question, I'm going to put several different ones just kind of into the same category, and that is regarding documents. I've been asked if I help people with documents. I do not. I am not nearly qualified to do anything like that. We are also still learning a lot of Spanish, so language is definitely not something that I can get along with. And then also, what did it cost for us to hire someone to process our kids' documents? So we had started on our own, but then for the cedula process, which is pretty much still the beginning, we were still working on doing that ourselves. We ended up hiring someone just to push through the cedula process. We paid about 5 million guaraníes. And do I have contacts for someone to help anyone who is looking for someone to assist them with processing documents? Yes, I do. I have several different ones. There's one lady, she speaks Plattdeutsch, German, English, and Spanish. She is relatively fluent in all four of those languages, so she can help out. If you need contact information, I can help you out. This lady, she lives in the area that we live in. And then there's another one that is located in Asunción I have contact for. And this one we initially wanted to go with for our kids' documents, but then since we had so much time, decided to start it on our own. And one aspect was we wanted to save money on it, which ended up being a mistake, but whatever, we lived and we learned. This fellow, he speaks Spanish and German. Those are the only two languages, but he does have someone to assist him with English, so that is still an option for a lot of you. And with this one, we had friends that did the same process as what we were wanting to go through with our kids, which is to make them like the Paraguayan birth certificate, all of that, so that they will always have the right to come back to Paraguay should they ever decide to move out. But then they would still have the option to come back just like we did as born Paraguayans. Friends of ours used him. They said that he did a phenomenal job. There was only one time where he had to come back to them, ask for something, and otherwise he took care of absolutely everything. Obviously, with having documents already stamped in Canada before coming here, that they had everything that he would need. The last question that I have for today is, what have been some of the biggest challenges that we have faced? And to this is kind of, there's a lot of little things. I wouldn't say that there is really one big thing that really threw us off or that has challenged us. There's just been a lot of little things combined that have made this whole process as difficult as it has been. I mean, we have really enjoyed it. We have learned so much. So some of these things that have been a challenge is simply the lifestyle change from living in Canada to here. It has been such a big change for our family dynamic itself. My husband was a trucker in Canada, so he was gone Monday to Friday, which, just looking at it generally, didn't seem to be so bad. But then when you move somewhere else, or you just get out of that lifestyle and you're together every day, you see each other at least sometime every single day, then you realize kind of what you missed out on, and then you kind of have to relearn how to do the day-to-day. And that's been decently big challenge for us, because me and the kids so used to living our own life kind of, and then him being on his own out on the road a lot, and then all of a sudden us all being together and having to just learning how to live together and adapt to each other, really, because he did that our entire marriage in Canada, and that was about 10 years. So we had never, after getting married, really learned how to live together all the time. So that has been one thing, but it has been really great. It's been really great getting so much family time. And then another one is some of the things in Canada that we are still feeling the strain of. We are feeling, to some extent, the economic strain, because we do have a piece of land there that we have been thinking maybe we should have stayed there until it was all dealt with and sold off, and we no longer had that lingering there. But then again, we don't know how much money we would have decided to invest there before we came here into that piece of land just to bring it to fruition. It is a development property that has been approved for several different things and is just not selling. That has been hindering us. And then the emergency trip to Canada, which we were completely not prepared for. And then the language barrier here has been somewhat. And it's more than just not knowing Spanish. It is then a lot of people here, kind of depending also the area that you're in. Some areas they might speak more of just Spanish, and then some of them they will throw in a lot of Guarani, and then they will also slur the words a lot of times, of kind of being like, I don't know, a little bit lazy on their pronunciation or whatever. And just that whole mix makes it a lot more difficult, especially when you're out in a store and you're trying to make bigger purchases, like when we were purchasing mattresses. It's kind of difficult even to use the translator because they don't speak like the Mexican Hispanics. They speak a lot clearer Spanish, and they just don't do that here near as often. So that has made it a little bit more challenging. It makes everything take so much longer. And then sometimes you're just not really sure, is this legitimate? Is it not? Trying to just navigate that and make good choices in the moment whenever you're facing it. I do have a whole video on places where you might see corruption when you're living in Paraguay and kind of how to navigate that a little bit, some advice there. And then number 5 is opening a business. In Canada, when we opened our business, that was one good thing there. It took 24, 48 hours. As long as the business name was available, then it was very fast to open the business. You got your paperwork that you needed to go open a bank account. You were there for half an hour or whatever, and then you had that ready. And that is a lot more difficult here. It took us, I forget a little bit, but roughly 5 months, 4 to 5 months before we had our business completely like up and running. As far as the business itself, getting all the certifications, I mean, that was more work here because import export, there's a lot more things to do. And then the bank accounts, it took, for us to open a personal bank account, took, I don't know, 6 months, just because of all the requirements. And to some extent, I do feel they're a little bit overboard, but they're trying to kick the whole money laundering out of the system, which does make it really difficult to navigate. So that was a challenge in of itself as well, both personally and for the business. So that is, off the top of my head, some of the questions that I figured you guys would be most interested in, that might be the most helpful. So there you have it. If you do want the contact information for anyone who can help you with documents or anything like that, do feel free to email me. I can forward those contacts to you. They will be happy to help you. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video helped. Any other questions, you're always free to comment, obviously, below, or even to email me. Yeah, subscribe if you have not already. Thank you so very much.